Furthermore, I will direct the Department of Justice to pursue federal civil rights cases against schools that continue to engage in racial discrimination and schools that persist in explicit, unlawful discrimination under the guise of equity will not only have their endowments taxed, but through budget reconciliation, I will advance a measure to have them fined up to the entire amount of their endowment. A portion of the seized funds will then be used as restitution for victims of these illegal and unjust policies that hurt our country so badly. Colleges have gotten hundreds of billions of dollars from hardworking taxpayers, and now we are going to get this anti-American insanity out of our institutions once and for all. We are going to have real education in America. Thank you.
We're so cooked, man. He's talking about CRT, isn't he? Actually, he's talking about affirmative action. Gotta say, though, format-wise, pretty good, huh? Shame Kamala Harris never did this. No welfare for illegal aliens. Hey, chat. Is that something undocumented immigrants are typically recipients of? They just go on in and get their welfare, get their food stamps with no social security number? The craziest one is the one where he says he will build entirely new cities and flying cars. Joe Biden said that he'd end cancer, so... Quantum leap in the American standard of living.
Past generations of Americans pursued big dreams and daring projects that once seemed absolutely impossible. They pushed across an unsettled continent and built new cities in the wild frontier. They transformed American life with the interstate highway system. Magnificent it was. And they launched a vast network of satellites into orbit all around the Earth. But today, our country has lost its boldness. Under my leadership, we will get it back in a very big way. If you look at just 3 years ago, what we were doing was unthinkable. How good it was, how great it was for our country. Our objective will be a quantum leap in the American standard of living. That's what will happen. Here are just a few of the ways we can do it. Almost 1/3 of the landmass of the United States is owned by the federal government, with just a very, very small portion of that land, just a fraction, 1/2 of 1%. Would you believe that? We should hold a contest to charter up to 10 new cities and award them to the best proposals for development. In other words, we'll actually build new cities in our country again. These freedom cities will reopen the frontier, reignite American imagination, and give hundreds of thousands of young people and other people, all hardworking families, a new shot at home ownership and, in fact, the American dream. Another big opportunity is in...
The thing that's fucked up is that this is obviously stupid and sounds stupid, but, like, again, we should be learning from this why Kamala Harris lost. Like, he presents stuff that sounds compelling, sounds common sense. Like it's like the kind of thing someone would think if they were stupid and thought no one had thought of it before. Why don't people just build new cities? We're having a housing cost crisis. Why don't people just build new cities? They do. We do build new cities. That does happen. Usually it starts as like you know, the suburb extends out past the like incorporated area of a town. It kind of develops out, and eventually, like, once enough people live there, they form a new... Also, like, the problem isn't that we lack land. We already have cities where housing prices are basically nil. It's just those places suck to live, you know?
In transportation, dozens of major companies in the United States and China are racing to develop vertical takeoff and landing vehicles for families and individuals.
Flying cars, yeah.
Just as the United States led the automotive revolution in the last century, I want to ensure that America, not China, leads this revolution in air mobility. These breakthroughs can transform commerce, bring a giant infusion of wealth into rural America, and connect families in our country in new ways. Likewise, through our Strategic National Manufacturing Initiative, which is going to be very big and very, very successful, we will turn forgotten communities into hives of industry.
Hives.
Producing the goods we will no longer import from China. We will also have a major initiative on lowering the cost of living with a special focus on lowering the cost of a new car and lowering the cost to build a single-family home. And they will be beautiful homes. And I will ask Congress to support baby bonuses for young parents to help launch a new baby boom. Finally, I'll challenge the governors of all 50 states to join me in a great modernization and beautification campaign, getting rid of ugly buildings, refurbishing our parks and our public spaces, making cities and towns more livable, ensuring a pristine environment, and building towering monuments to our true American heroes. Very importantly, I will also make sure all of these new...
None of this will happen. It doesn't matter. By the way, this used to be more normal. It used to be more normal for politicians to run on a general platform where they express their values and say a bunch of stuff, a lot of which they can't actually get done. Democrats will run on saying, like, they want to do 4 things and all of them are boring. You know? Again, it's just like, I'm not saying that Democrats should lie or promise things that will hurt people or destroy the economy. I'm saying, like, you're trying to sell people on a vision, so sell it.
Places are safe. We love and cherish our police. They will do the job the way they have to. It is time to start talking about greatness for our country again. I will dramatically increase living standards and build a future that brings our country together through excitement, opportunity, and success. Thank you very much.
I don't know. Sounds like life's going to be pretty good. You guys seen the stuff from Trump where it seems like we might legitimately lose the freedom of religion? Like they might just start doing prayers in school again, like in spite of Supreme Court jurisprudence? Look at the video on homeschooling. There's a lot of videos. There's a lot of videos. The scourge of drug addiction. Oh, this one embeds within the video. The other one didn't.
For 3 decades before my election, drug overdose deaths increased every single year. Under my leadership, we took the drug and fentanyl crisis head on, and we achieved the first reduction in overdose deaths in more than 30 years. I also proudly signed the Support Act, the largest investment ever in combating the opioid epidemic.
I might become the most Reddit atheist motherfucker alive. Yeah, I want to see where all of the Reddit atheism slander goes when literally, like, this country is being ripped apart by evangelical fascists. Like, you motherfuckers are going to be, like, every school classroom, people are going to be forced to Sieg Heil a portrait of Trump and then pray to Republican Jesus for 20 minutes before getting down to the class lesson. The Reddit atheists were right. If anything, they should have been more militant. I'm being facetious, of course. The real issue with Reddit atheism is that a lot of the new atheists are themselves fascists. You know, Richard Dawkins was praising Elon Musk on Twitter today. All of the, like, the difference between me and religious people is that I'm not stupid like they are types, is that all of them basically just believed in the same underlying social ills that the religious people did. They just believed it in a non-mystical way. Their anti-theism is rooted in bigotry. Yeah. It's kind of like, it's unironically like an example of the consequences of taking a debate bro attitude to your principles, where rather than having a grounded set of beliefs that are rooted in a desire to make the world a better place through consistently applying some kind of, you know, normative ethical framework, instead you're kind of just like bouncing off of whatever your opponent is or your enemy is. So like, oh, you know, religious people are stupid and dumb and cringe, so I defeat them epically with my logic. But you're not defeating them because, like, you care about the underlying virtues you're supposed to be promoting. You just like feeling smarter than them.
Sadly, under Joe Biden, our hard-won progress has been surrendered along with the surrender of our southern border.
Because then you decide that, like, wokeness is the real religion or whatever.
Now fentanyl and other ultra-deadly poisons are pouring into our country unchecked, stealing more than 100,000 American lives every single year, and many people think that real number is 300,000 to 400,000. Joe Biden's record is one of death, destruction, and misery in communities all across our nation. When I'm back in the White House, I will take action on day one to end this horrific plague and save American lives. Joe Biden will never solve the drug overdose crisis because he is actively destroying our border. What he has done to our border, we had the safest border in the history of our country, and now we have the worst border probably anywhere in the world, including third world countries. That's why I have previously announced I will impose a full naval embargo on the drug cartels and deploy military assets to inflict maximum damage on cartel operations.
This is the invading Mexico bit, I suppose.
I will insist on the full cooperation of neighboring governments to dismantle the trafficking and smuggling networks in our region, and I will ask Congress to ensure that drug dealers, kingpins, and human traffickers receive the death penalty. At the same time, I will direct federal law enforcement here in the United States to take down the gangs and organized street crime that distribute these deadly narcotics on a local level. They are killing.
To be honest, I agree Kamala should have had these videos up, but I don't think Trump supporters have actually watched these. Oh, you're correct. Like 99% of Trump supporters have not watched these. But it's about the underlying message and spirit. If you were really stupid, there's a lot of stuff Trump is saying here that could really like get you going, get your blood, you know, fired up. And he's always like that in his speeches. It's just, there's nothing to get inspired about with the Democrats. It's just, they don't offer you anything. It's just empty, you know? Good luck putting an effective naval embargo. None of this is going to happen. None of this is going to happen. The only interesting things that are going to happen are going to pertain to the direct worsening of our lives. Also, Elon Musk will become the world's first trillionaire or something. I don't know. None of this is going to happen. Ending the nightmare of the homeless, drug addicts, and dangerously deranged. It's an interesting way of putting it. What's the purpose of watching these videos in your mind, Vosh? To specifically inconvenience and upset you.
Our once
the best
great
agenda
cities have
ever?
become unlivable, unsanitary.
Why do all of these videos have different audio, like, volume thresholds? They all do. Look, it's the third time now I've had to adjust my audio. Because, like, this one is quieter, the last one was louder, and then the first one was quieter, too.
Nightmares surrendered to the homeless, the drug addicted, and the violent and dangerously deranged. We're making many suffer for the whims of a deeply unwell few, and they are unwell indeed. The homeless have no right to...
You guys see the Trump plan to put the homeless in camps outside of cities? That's not even an exaggeration. He literally said, like, tent cities outside of cities, which will be overseen by doctors or whatever, but that part's obviously a lie. Californians would like this rhetoric. You could say the camps where they concentrate homeless people into. I do think at some point as a journalist, it's your responsibility to read between the lines a little bit. Trump says he'll ban homeless camping, create, quote, tent cities. Trump proposed banning urban camping, arresting those who violate the ban, and offering them space in government-run tent cities staffed with doctors and social workers. Didn't that lead to a president losing election? Yeah, but like the difference is that, oh, a Hooverville in Seattle. I recognize these buildings. Huh. Oh, wait, I know exactly where this is. That's right off Alaska Way. A lot of these buildings are still up. The main mistake that Hoover made was that he didn't put the Hoovervilles further away from cities. It's the real difference. Man, these Hoovervilles, they got it made compared to your modern, like, homeless encampments, huh? They got, like, little corrugated shack, like, housing, you know? Not bad. Pretty swanky. Yeah, 15-minute cities. You know your neighbor? Millennials will pay for an experience like this. They call them tiny homes. You know, you go on YouTube and people will be like, yeah, and you can remove the mattress, roll it up, put it in this cupboard, fold up the board that I'm laying the mattress on, and then it becomes like a table.
To turn every park and sidewalk into a place for them to squat and do drugs. Americans should not have to step over piles of needles and waste as they walk down a street in a beautiful city, or at least once beautiful city, because they've changed so much over the last 10 years. Our first consideration should be the rights and safety of the hardworking, law-abiding citizens who make our society function. When I'm back in the White House, we will use every tool, lever, and authority to get the homeless off our streets. We want to take care of them, but they have to be off our streets. There is nothing compassionate about letting these individuals live in filth and squalor rather than getting them the help that they need. We need professionals to help them. For a small fraction of what we spend upon Ukraine, we could take care of every homeless veteran in America. Our veterans are being treated horribly. Likewise, with all of the money we will save by ending mass unskilled migration, we will have a huge dividend to address this crisis in our own country. Under my strategy, working with states, we will ban urban camping wherever.
One of the only saving graces we have is the knowledge that he literally will not have the money to do a lot of this. Like, just flatly. I mean, the Fed can print as much money as they want, but Congress still has to approve the budgets that you run with. And I don't think he would be able to get away with, like, doubling the deficit overnight on the, like, discretionary fund that would be used towards the death camps for the homeless or whatever.
Possible. Violators of these bans will be arrested, but they will be given the option to accept treatment and services if they're willing to be rehabilitated. Many of them don't want that, but we'll give them the option. We will then open up large parcels of inexpensive land, bring in doctors, psychiatrists, social workers, and drug rehab specialists, and create 10 cities where the homeless can be relocated and their problems identified. But we'll open up our cities again, make them livable, and make
there
them
was a Deep Space Nine
for those
episode
who
about
are
this.
just temporarily down on their luck. We will work to help them quickly reintegrate into a normal life. For those who have addictions, substance abuse, and common mental health problems, we will get them into treatment.
This is... Remember how I've said in the past that Americans don't have the sauce, etc., etc.? I think this is one of the things that makes me feel that way, because a pure fascist, a true fascist, wouldn't be offering any compassion for the useless eaters. You know, a true fascist would say, there would be no pretense, even though it's insincere here, there would be no insincere pretense of compassion. It would just be like, well, fuck them, we'll get rid of them, you know? And you do see that in other countries sometimes. He is reserving that level of contempt for drug dealers, but for, like, people with drug addictions, we all know the real position of Republicans to people who are on the street with drug addictions is that they should be stomped to death by police. Like, that's not, we know how they feel, but he can't say that. He can't pretend that. There's a weird undercurrent of liberalism, even to the fascism represented in Donald Trump's administration. We're such a liberal country that even our fascists are liberal, right? There's still this, like, undercurrent of, well, we have to pretend that we care about fairness and equality. No matter how obviously you don't. No matter how obviously that is not a concern for you, you know? Donald Trump still has to pretend that he's an anti-racist who's fighting for real equality, and that's why he's going after, you know, affirmative action for its racism or whatever. It's always like, you know, how can I reframe this to make it seem as though I'm adhering to liberal values? I can't actually explicitly endorse the fascist values, which, again, in a lot of fascist countries, they do that, right? Like, they'll just openly say that sort of thing. Just a little wacky.
And for those who are severely mentally ill and deeply disturbed, we will bring them back to mental institutions where they belong, with the goal of reintegrating them back into society once they are well enough to manage. It's a tough task, a very tough task. What's taken place on the streets, what's taken place with their taking so much drugs. But the fact is, we're going to try. This strategy will be far better and also far less expensive than spending vast sums of taxpayer money to house the homeless in luxury hotels without addressing their underlying issues. And they have so many of these underlying issues and needs.
Useless
This
residents.
is how I will end the scourge of homelessness and make our cities clean and safe and beautiful once again. We will do it. We will bring back America. Thank you.
At what point do the full fascist points become palatable to the general population? I don't know. There are plenty of people in this country who are openly out and about anti-liberal in their values, but I don't think it's a majority, even of the Republicans. They kind of filter up to the top. Ingrained social progressivism is very difficult to unroot. Yeah, I would say so. I do believe that, yeah. Keep in mind that, like, Hitler didn't invent anti-Semitism. A lot of Germans probably would have been okay with pogroms against Jews, like, from the get-go, basically. since when have homeless people been given free luxury hotels? It's something the right's been repeating for ages. Basically, I think it was in New York. It might have happened in a few places, but there have been a few times where open, empty hotels during the off season have been like commissioned by the state to open up their rooms for people who like refugees or homeless people, to get them off the streets when it's cold or whatever, and because they have like empty beds. So the right went with that, and for like years now, they've been like, yeah, during COVID as well, and they've been saying like Democrats are giving Ritz-Carlton penthouse apartments to every like fentanyl addict on the street. It's just welfare queens 2.0, essentially, yeah.